You know what I just realized?
I don't. What is that?
I consume about 1,000 milligrams of caffeine before 9 o'clock every day.
Dude,
That's not good.
that like just hearing that gives me a panic attack.
Yeah, maybe that's why my anxiety and overwhelm is so high sometimes. Well, that and 6 kids, but
Dude, I was just I'm actually looking forward to this listen, but I had YouTube up or whatever, listening to something, and I saw a Joe Rogan short with Jelly Roll. The guy's down like, dude, the guy's down like 300 some. I mean, he's down to like 220 pounds, I think, dude. Um, he has 35 pounds of excess skin on him right now. They just got to remove. But anyways, I don't know why I thought of that. I think because you were talking about caffeine in the morning, but he talked about being addicted to food and just he was eating, what he was eating and addiction to caffeine, food, like stuff like that that doesn't necessarily kill you is really hard to break.
when it kills you, it just kills you slowly. No, I
Yeah.
just totally never even thought about it. I get up and I make a pot of coffee and I just drink, it's like a smaller pot, but it's still 8 cups. It's like an
Mm-hmm.
8 cup pot. And I was just curious. I was like, I wonder how much caffeine's in that. And I looked it up and it's somewhere between 850 and 1,000 calories. I mean, milligrams of caffeine. I'm like, holy hell, that's a problem.
Yeah. It's wild. Caffeine and sugar, I feel like they sneak into a lot of things. And then you
I've
look
been
at the
doing that for
content, you're like,
years.
what?
Been doing that for years, bro. I get in and I drink like, I have like 2 large coffee mugs or like XL coffee mugs, and I just have 2 big coffee mugs, but it's 8 cups, like actual measured cups. It's 2 of my big cups, but it's 8 measured cups, and each one has 80 to 90 milligrams of caffeine in it. I'm like, good God Almighty. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Got got to tighten that up. Um, Welcome to the Max Revenue Show. I'm your host, Trey Shields, along with the Zen Master of Commercial Insurance, Micah Salas. Micah, how are you today?
Doing all right. It's a day. I'm happy to be alive.
Always just
It's
a
a day.
overflowing
It's a
bubble
day.
of joy. Another day. We're gonna mix things up today. We're gonna do a listener Q&A. I've got we need to get caught up on YouTube comments and DMs and all that stuff, and so I kind of picked out 5 that we're gonna jam on. But before we do that, shout out to today's sponsor, Insurance Xdate. Generate leads, win new biz. Insurance Xdate is where new business begins. Industry relevant data delivered on a software platform built for sales, not research. Identify and engage with prospects in minutes, keep track of your opportunities, and get production done. For P&C producers, they have work comp data, auto, a lot of stuff, employee benefits, health and retirement data. Can't recommend it enough. It is the backbone of Micah's process, which leads me to my first question, which I actually didn't even write down. So we're going to actually have a bonus question. We're going to start with this one first because I just remembered this guy asked me about this the other day on a call. Okay, so he was asking. I put up, or we had put up a post about like pre-qualifying based off of what you see in Insurance Xdate, and he said, "Hey man, I can't see comp premium data. So what are some other ways that I can pre-qualify whether somebody is big enough or not?" Because it was the post we talked about where you had talked with the guy who was just calling on everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't
Yep.
realize how, he might get a guy on the phone that has 5,000 in premium. He might get a guy that has 50,000 in premium. Whereas you specifically look at a certain slot, say,
Yeah, I pretty much
15.
know that
Yeah.
my guys I'm calling are at worst case scenario should be about 75. Worst case, but so
So if you don't have work comp premium, what are some other ways that help you qualify whether somebody is worth your time or not?
yeah, good question. I didn't have work comp premium up until 2020, 2021. So I went 6, 7 years without any work comp premium. So don't let like that be a hindrance. It doesn't mean insurance Xdate's not a great tool. I think, yeah, of course, if you have the premium data, that's awesome, and it even makes it more advantageous in those states. But if you don't have it, what I used to do, you might have to. I would probably pay for another service. So something that generates leads, and I can't think of what we used to call it when I worked at the big shop. I don't know if it was like Judy Diamond or whatever. It was kind of, they pulled like D&B, public information, which isn't always accurate, but it's sometimes the ranges can be somewhat decent. And so what I used to do on there is I would go on there and I would go by SIC code and then zip code, and those are the two references. And then I would try to do sales, and a lot of us would do like sales at 5 million plus. They told us to do like 20 million, but I realized the data was so bad. I said, there's so many guys that shows they only do 5 because they never report it, private information, and then they ended up being a lot bigger, prospects. So I used to do that to build my list, and it worked. I mean, it worked pretty well. And then you have to do a little bit more vetting maybe. So like you pull the list, and then I'd maybe Google them quick before calling. And if I couldn't find, I would just call them, right? So you're gonna maybe call some smaller contractors. There's no way around it, or whatever your niche is. That's probably the best way that I've found to do that, is just, like I said, good old classic, go on Google, look them up, and then use like a Judy Diamond or Yellow Book or whatever. I don't know I don't even know because I don't use them anymore, but some service, they're pretty inexpensive. It's worth the cost, whatever it is, just to, Reference USA, whatever it is, just to get those lists. And the cool thing about using those lists or those databases and those aggregators is they would a lot of times have accounts that would pull up on there that are off the beaten path, no one would ever know about, right? But they're on the sheet and they're legit companies, and they're kind of just doing their little business that the public doesn't see, and it's a really good prospect. One other thing to add is you can go out, boots on the ground, right? If you have a territory you're in, go. I mean, it's old school, but vet your list, create a list of like, 100, 150 you want to start with, and then just map them out on a map. And if you want to do prospecting that way, then you could actually go in person, right, and see who's legit, who's not. So I don't know. Do you have any other ideas? Am I missing something? I mean, that's really all I can think
Yeah,
of.
I mean, all I can do is tell you what I did. A lot of what I did was like what I called blue collar with wheels, and so I would try to find whatever data I could on number of vehicles. I would also use Google Maps to go look at the operation. You can tell a lot of times it'll show how many vehicles are parked. Um,
That's good.
Number of sales. I put up a thing back in February called "How to Build a List of Prospects in Your Niche for Free," and using Dun and Bradstreet. And I mean, bro, if I would have had this when I first started, it saved me a lot of money and a lot of time. So go check that out. February 9th, how to build a list of prospects in your niche for free. Okay, so that tells you how to build a list from start. Now, I feel like there's kind of a difference between building a list and then also like qualifying, because you're going to get some data that's not right, and you're probably going to go through and scrub that list. And so I would just say like for me, it's number of employees is a good way. Sales is a good way. Vehicles is a good way.
But
And
you
then
got to
if you
get
can
that.
get work comp data.
Yeah, you got to get that data from some source. So so my thing is you got to probably pay for it, or like you just said, I guess there's a free resource out there, Reference USA or something, or a library. Um, I mean, so here's the thing. Sometimes, guys, is like, even on people with Insurance Xdate, I'll have people, should I do it? Should I not? I'm like, what's the cost? $80 a month. I don't even know what it costs anymore. $100. I pay for the premium. All right. So, um, let's just say $100 a month. It's, I understand if your book is nothing and maybe you're getting a draw of 50,000, like that, it's different, right? But still, it's worth it. Talk with your agency owner, see if they can subsidize it, meet you halfway, whatever. You got to invest a little bit. It'll just pay dividends, right? So getting a list is like step one, and like having prospects to call, you need to have people to call in an efficient manner. And so, yeah, it's really critical. Don't be afraid to
Yeah,
invest in it.
booyakasha. Okay, moving on to the next question. This is from Chris. Hey, Chris.
What's up?
Quick question. Quick question, I hope. Do you ever recommend calling prospects on Mondays? Thanks for all the great content. Appreciate you, Chris. Micah?
Dude, that's a softball of a question. Um,
That's why I teed it up first.
I used to be speaking of softball, dude, I used to crush it at softball. I had like a 780 average, and I would hit these really good low liners, dude, that would be right over the infield, and I was like guaranteed single double. I was super fast. This was in my young 20s out of college. Then I didn't play for a couple of years. I come back, I'll go up to Federated Insurance Camp, whatever. I come back, and then in my mid 20s, some guy's like, "Hey, you want to play softball?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I killed it." Dude, I was whiffing. I don't know what happened. I did my batting average for that season. I think I did one summer. It was like 340 or something. It was awful. I would whiff sometimes. I'm like pop out all the time. It was so bad. Anyways, um, way off topic there, dude. But
100%.
well, that's okay because the question is so easy that I don't need a lot of time to answer it. Yes, you should call Mondays. I don't personally like to call Mondays before about 10:30, 11 in the morning. But after about 11, all internal apprehension goes away, and I'm like, hey, fair game, 10:30, 11-ish. People kind of got their mornings set up. It's all good now, especially afternoons. I have no hesitation at all. And so from usually, actually, Mondays are one of my days I like to get a lot of calls in just to start the week right, sets the tone. I like to get a good block from like 1:30 to 4, 1:30 to 3:30. It's also a slower day for me. I have an account manager, but I still monitor my email and it seems like not a lot of fires pop up Monday. I don't know why. They usually come in Tuesday. I think everyone else has got like insurance is low on the priority list, so it's like they're doing everything else, getting their company off, and then the insurance fires always come up Tuesday. So if you don't make any calls Monday, now you're sitting there Tuesday and you have a fire pop up with a client, you're like, then you're going to be in the hole going into Wednesday. So yes, make calls.
Fair enough. All right. Next question from Jackson. What is the construction book you referenced in How Top Producers Keep Growing?
Man, do I really want to share this with everybody? No, I have an abundance mindset, so I got to practice what I preach. It is called Managing the Profitable Construction Business, the Contractor's Guide to Success and Survival Strategies. Yeah, I'm about 80% of the way through it.
Who's the author?
There's a couple authors on here. Thomas Schleifer, Kenneth Sullivan, both PhDs, and John Murdaugh.
What about Ruben?
Ruben Murdoch?
No. You don't remember the curious case of Ruben Micah?
That was the best story ever. Hands down.
Oh, God.
If we had a year in review episode, that was, even though that happened in a different year, that'd be like the
Yeah, it was
ultimate,
in
like
2024.
funniest story of the year.
Yeah.
No Ruben.
No
Just,
Ruben. Cold Call Diaries, friend of Micah's got hit with a call Ruben. And so he calls and asks for Ruben. The guy says, yeah, Ruben Macaque.
That's so funny, dude. Gosh, you should send out that newsletter again. Go like rework it a little bit, update it. Just as a funny one. It should be an annual tradition. Like this has to go out once a year. It's so funny.
Well, like Work Comp Willie, we send out Ruben Macaque and Work Comp Willie on the anniversary dates. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. If we haven't lost anybody, this next one is from EB producer, not ED, EB.
Speaking of Macaque.
Micah, what is your sales cadence? Would love to see a video on this. Is it cold call, email, dash EB broker?
Man, there's some habits I don't have. Like there's some things I do that I would say if I was your coach or like your manager, I probably wouldn't, for your manager listening, I probably would be like, don't listen to Micah's advice on this because it's not structured enough. Cadence is probably one of those where I don't do like call immediately, email, I don't have it all mapped out and sequenced out. what I typically try to do, if let's just say I have never called a prospect before, it's been over a year and I'm calling them again, it's going to be 2 calls a week for 2 weeks. And then maybe an email, uh, snuck in there, or maybe an email at the end of that, and then one more call, and then I'm done. So abort, so about 5 to 7 attempts, and then I'm over it. Because I'm trying to call people, 4 to 5 months out, and I know I got that perfect window where it's not too early and it's not too late, and so I'm trying to kind of find as many prospects in those little windows as I can. Um, and then, speaking of cadence, if I have some bigger prospects or some people like, you might be like, oh, you don't keep in touch throughout the year. Not on a lot of them. I might on some of them. Depends, right? This is just all kind of feel. And I'm like, okay, this is a nice size prospect. What I'm going to do here is make a touch point in my CRM every 60 days or every 90 days. I'll put something on there, and maybe when that pops up, I do something, and maybe I don't. Maybe I push for another 30 if I don't have anything relevant or helpful to share. So yeah, that's my sequencing. Um,
Very nice. All right. This next one is from Vern. Vern asks, Micah, I caught your podcast with Andy Neary yesterday. Great stuff, man. I've used a cold calling service this past year because I was honestly pretty apprehensive about doing it myself. After listening to some of their calls, I have to admit there was definitely a cringe factor. So, not a great example of how I want my company to be represented. I'm taking the deep dive and going to follow your inspiration to start doing my own cold calling next year. I was wondering if you'd be open to sharing with me some of the things you found to make it easier. Specifically, I'd love to know what the typical openers sound like. Let me know if we can hop on a call sometime. Thanks.
yeah, man, congratulations on actually jumping, taking the jump and making your own cold calls. That's cool that I inspired you to do that. I I think everyone should do it. I don't care if I plan on doing it when I'm 60 years old. Hopefully, not going to make as many as I do now, but I think it still makes sense. Let me talk a little bit about cold calling service, because I actually that is one thing I get a lot of questions on as well, because I did mention in one of our episodes, hey, I used a cold calling service and I never really kind of shared with you guys how that went. That could be a whole separate episode probably. Um, but long story short, I'm not going to renew the contract with them. Um, Mainly because a lot of the meetings being sent weren't, well, they ended up no showing, or they weren't great fits. So they just were too, like, they weren't really what I would have called on. They weren't small enough. And they sent me the list beforehand, but you don't have time to go through 800 prospect. I mean,
Weren't big enough.
yeah, weren't big enough, but also weren't like, they were like machine shops or something. So they'd have 20 employees, but it'd be like a machine shop. And I'm like, dude, that's going to be like 30,000 a premium. If it's 20 employees, great, but it's got to be a contractor, And so I was pretty clear on that. So again, I'm not opposed to ever doing it again. I just had invested a little bit here, tried it. I think they set maybe 6, 7 meetings, but probably legit that panned out where the people showed up and met with me. I think there was like 3 or 4. And then a lot of them were like just looking to get a quote, like totally too small. It's just, so anyways, that's my feeling on the cold calling stuff. Not opposed to doing it again, or maybe there's a better service, better provider, but that was just my initial. So man, to make cold calling easy, I think a lot of it starts with mindset. I think you need to take the pressure off, right? It's kind of like, you just got to realize that you're not in control. There's a lot of stuff that's out of your control. And so you're just trying to find people out there that obviously you build your prospect list, that helps, but then so that increases your odds of finding these people. But your thought is like, I just got to find people that need some help, right? That maybe have some pain, or that maybe have some curiosity. That's all I'm trying to do. And so if you go into with that mindset, it just changes everything, right? It kind of like that internal pressure you feel kind of goes away. And
How much did
and
you
then
pay that service?
oh, 5 grand or something.
For how long?
It was probably, it was an hour basis. I want to say like 40 hours of calling. I don't know exactly.
Dang. Somebody wants to pay me $5 grand for 40 hours of calling. I'll do that. Hell. Hey.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so it starts with mindset for me, and then I like to keep my when I was really nervous making cold calls, what helped me the most was just keeping the script super simple. So it'd be like, hey, is this Max? Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Max, Micah here at Christensen Group over in Austin. Max, I didn't know, are you in charge of the insurance or is there someone else there that rolls up under at the company?
It's me.
Oh, lucky you. Hey, I know you got an agent. I'm just calling. I didn't know if you'd ever be open to having a conversation about the insurance and maybe doing some due diligence.
What do you mean by due diligence?
Well, I basically it's just a kind of a process I use that helps contractors basically answer two questions: am I overpaying or am I missing something? Without actually having to quote. And that's why I was calling you today. I just wanted to kind of share a little bit more about that if you had some time when I wasn't catching you out of the blue. So,
Hell, just send me the BOR.
uh, but yeah, so that's kind of a hopefully that helps. I mean, I don't, that's a pretty low pressure way to open a call. Low, you're just having a conversation with someone. It's no different than if you run into a guy at a networking event. Um, Try to visualize it that way. Try to get that feeling. You can even stop it a little shorter. So I actually had a YouTube video like this. I think one of our original YouTube videos was like my $1 million script, how I built $1 million at my first agency. And it was literally, I wouldn't even really say due diligence opening. I would just say, yeah, hey, Steve, it's Mike over at, MMA agency, whatever. I was just curious if you'd ever be open to having a conversation about your insurance. I know you got an agent, but I didn't know if you guys ever have conversations outside of that or, something along those lines. And it was just super short and people were almost like, well, is there more to this pitch? I was like, and then you just get a conversation. They're like, well, they start talking, and
Yeah.
so it's all about listening. I mean, we all know this, that, you don't want to talk a lot. You want the person you want to get them talking a little bit, right? Um, so
We try to
yeah,
overcount complicate everything, you know. It's so funny.
yeah,
I'm going through some stuff right now, you know, similar but in my new venture, and it's like I just try to overcomplicate it. It's
yep.
if you just keep it simple and do the little keep it simple, do it every day, and just find the people who need it and shun the non-believers. It's like we just make it harder. It has to be. Um. All right. Next one is from Wild Bill. Micah, love the last max revenue email blast. I'm at the one. I'm at the $1 million mark and struggling to find the time as well. I have been redoing my prospect list I started 8 years ago to only include the ones I should be going after, which is helping my calling as there's fewer names so I can be more focused. I've been calling on accounts within 2 hours or so of me, but at a point I feel like I need to go further or add another niche as we don't have some of the larger carriers to get AORs on some of the bigger accounts. I do mostly construction and some waste haulers. Any advice outside of the email would be appreciated.
Hmm.
And the email he's referring to is like
A
the one we did
message.
where you, yeah, stuck at a
Yeah.
million.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. That, yep. I would be curious because he does mention I don't have the markets to get AORs. If that's the case, it doesn't mean you should just stop calling those accounts. I mean, maybe then you have to change, pivot your strategy, and then you go in there with a market that you do have that can write that account or market or two, and that's your pitch to the owner. It's like, hey, I don't have this market, but we have one that really wants to write your account. Or could we just entertain it? Would you ever be open to entertaining a conversation, right? So I don't know what the whole dynamics are of that background. I guess if I had him on the phone, I could talk to him. But so I'd say don't let that with like stop you from calling on an account though, just because you can't AOR something. Because that happens to me all the time. I mean, there's a lot of accounts I can't AOR for various reasons. So uh, the question after that, or really the question was about, does he have to expand his territory, right, or his niche?
Yeah, he's just
I
kind
think,
of like he's
yeah,
kind of tapped. Feels like he's tapped out. So should he like kind of carve out a new niche or just go wider and further away?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I would go with the phone nowadays. I mean, um, with the phone and everything nowadays, I would say that it's not, you know, a big deal to go longer, wider, I guess you could say, get outside your little 30-minute radius or hour, 2 hour radius even. I mean, here's what I've kind of been realizing though, like that kind of sucks to go further unless you don't mind traveling and you want to travel. Like we know both know agents who get on a plane and travel all over the country, or you know what I mean. I personally don't want to do that. That's why like I kind of set my parameters at about 2.5 hours ish is kind of the furthest I want to go. Now, if I have a great opportunity outside of that, yeah, I'll make an exception, but I'm not necessarily trying to like bring on a ton of accounts that are 4 or 5 hours away. Um, so you just got to kind of ask yourself, is that something you want to do? Because you don't want to start doing this and then be miserable. So I guess if you feel like my thinking is you're probably not if you have a 2 hour radius north, south, east, west around where you're living, unless you're in like middle of nowhere, I bet there's more prospects there than you realize, and maybe that does entail, you're at $1 million book, so you're feeling like I got to only call bigger ones. Well, I would still encourage you to call $15,000 accounts, 10, 15, 20 revenue size, because those things will grow, and you might think they're smaller too, but get in there, have meetings with them, start talking, and maybe they're bigger than you realize. So, and then yeah, expand your niche a little bit. I don't know how small your niche is. If it's just like one sliver of construction, go bring on more, or talk to some other guys in your office. Is there some gaps that you guys have the markets for, but no one's really calling on? And then yeah, maybe bring into the fold another 200-300 prospects within that 2 hour radius in a different niche. So I here's the thing with niching. I think we think it's the niching stuff, like even the guys who really harp on niching, if you actually read some of their posts and stuff, they'll go write like something outside their niche, right? And they basically all admit that it's a marketing, I don't say gimmick, but it's a marketing strategy, right? And I would agree with that. Yes, of course, it helps you on knowledge and confidence and all the other stuff and knowing the markets. But insurance, it's not rocket science. I mean, if you know construction, you can go write bars and restaurants. Yeah, there's a couple things you have to learn, but you can get past that, especially with AI right now. I mean, you can, hey, I'm calling on a restaurant. I've never really called on restaurants. What are the hot button issues from a risk standpoint and insurance? Talk to some people in your office. Just call an underwriter that does that. Ask them, get a name of someone. Hey, I'm thinking about calling on this. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to expand, or maybe you have to become more of a generalist if you are in a rural area and you feel like, hey, I've tapped out, all utility contractors in a 2 hour radius of my house. So
I think the niching thing we've talked about this is like it's a great constraint when you first start, because if you look at it, you're like it's so overwhelming as what you can do, but it's like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So by niching, it gives you a constraint and it just minimizes the information you have to understand. But I know who this guy specifically is, and I think he's been doing it for a while with 8 years plus, and so yeah, I mean, probably write anything, honestly. I mean, with
yeah,
waste haulers, you could go into, different trucking. You could go into, sand and gravel, environmental. Um, I mean, there's a lot of things you could go into. I
yeah.
don't know where he lives.
Yeah, I would just. My guess is he could. There's probably niches he could definitely write. And if you have 8 years experience, you know enough to write anything at that point. I mean, you wouldn't walk away from a referral for a really nice prospect that was in a niche that you didn't really do, right? Maybe you bring in some outside people to help you, but you're not going to generally walk away from a nice class of premium for just because it's not outside, just because it is outside your niche. So
Where there's a lot of premiums in those scrap and recycling yards, which kind of dovetails off waste haulers. There's a lot in there.
yep.
All right. Any other questions that come to the top of your mind before we kill this thing?
No, I don't really have any. I think we covered. I apologize, guys. I get a couple of these on LinkedIn, and the LinkedIn inbox is so bad that the way that it fills up with all the spam and other messages you get, they start to get cycled down really fast, and I don't go there on my LinkedIn inbox and scroll and look. And so if I don't respond immediately, that's what happens. So it's not because I ignore your questions. I would just tell you to keep shooting me a question. I also have my contact information on my LinkedIn page, so you can shoot me an email, shoot Trey a question, right? Because he's kind of managing the, or the max revenue. Shoot the max revenue company page a question, and that's probably better than sending me one. Just because it'll get responded to quicker.
Yeah, if you guys like these Q&A episodes, let me know. And send me any question you have. Send it to my personal or send it to whatever. I'll aggregate all of it, and then I'll bring it to the Zen Master. But if you send it to him, he's just probably not going to answer it. He's busy actually working. So send it to me. I'm just over here farting around on the internet. All right. Well, with that, let's end it. I'll just go ahead and put this out there. Producer Games is live, but technically we're quote unquote not launching it until January 1st. But if you're a listener of the podcast, I'll let you in on a little secret. Playproducergames.com. It's up and running. We'll give you 2 free weeks, and we don't, no credit card or nothing like that required. You go in there and fart around, see if you like it, and if you don't, it's not like we charge you without you knowing it. You have to actually go back and put your credit card in. So if it's something you're interested in, great. We'd love to have you. If not, no worries. It's all in the show notes. Link to Insurance Xdate. Link to the Producer Playbook. And the link to the Max Revenue letter. And with that, we'll bid you adieu. We know you have a lot to do, and the fact that you take time to listen to idiots talk about insurance, we appreciate it. See you later.
Adios.